You want the top secret, Shiznat? So I'm gonna let you in on something that's kind of sneaky, and dude, guys have not talked about it. I haven't even talked about it that much. And I know a lot of guys use forward-facing sonar like Active Target 2, like Live Scope, to fish out deep, right? You've seen them do it on Bassmaster, you've seen them do it on MLF, and that's the big chatter, catching fish deep, everybody's offshore. Well, one of the sneaky things that literally no one has really talked about, there's been some hints about it, and I've been doing it for 3 or 4 years now, is using forward-facing to catch them shallow. And I mean shallow, like 3 to 4 foot. And so what I want to show you right here, it's going to be a little difficult to see, but this is a giant school of fish in 3 to 4 feet of water lined up on a grass line. All those hash marks you see are fish. They're definitely more difficult to see. There's a few things you can do. You can turn your transducer a little more upwards to see these fish. You basically angle it 1 click up on like your Active Target 2. You can find them, dude. You still have to kind of fish your way through grass, but what you do is you use the Active Target 2 as kind of a tool to sort of pan around as you go. And when you start seeing these hash marks all lined above the grass, they almost look like spotted bass. It's the juice, but I got a cast, bro. So one of my favorite baits for this is just like a little trap. This is a little, Zuri, I think it's like a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8. And since we are so shallow, it's the perfect bait for, God, it's so crazy, dude. Look at them all. So it's a perfect bait for kind of hovering it above them and kind of reeling it. So we're gonna try to make a cast and catch one of these guys. Oh yeah, that's the one we're looking for. Sorry, the cameras are overheating. I can't get every hook set, bro. That's a grown one. Shouldn't do that, but we're going to. It's a nice 4.5, 5 pounder right there. And interestingly enough, guys, little baits don't equal little fish. That's that little, I think it's a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 Zuri. And you gotta be a little careful when you hook them. So that's a chunker, dude. Back in you go. It's a little tiny bait, ripping it, making them react. Whoa. Might have found an angle there, boys. All right, another solid one. Not as big as the last one, but she freaking choked it, dude. That's when you know you're on the right angle or they started to bite, is when they got it down there. But you need to get out, let's get back in there. Because a lot of times, like, I think there's a little outflow going on. And so, you know, it's current, it's sweeping through. And if you get that bait coming into them at the right sort of trajectory, all of a sudden, like you move like 20 feet and all of a sudden you're catching freaking every fish you saw on the scope. They got a little smart to the trap. I'm gonna try the ChatterBait Mini with that new Komodo Junior trailer. Throw that out, because when it comes to schoolies, keeping it, it's just like ledge fish, dude. Keeping it mixed up and keep showing them different stuff can keep them fired up. Because they'll be like, hey, what's that? New candy. I like candy bars. I like Jolly Ranchers. I like nerds, you know? Like it's something for everybody. Got you. Whoa, dude, I think one tried to eat. Oh God, he tried to eat it. There's like a freaking 7 pounder right behind him. Bro, that was freaking nuts. He tried to eat you, dude. You need to go down and have a talk with him. God, I got him going now, boy. A little better one. All I'm doing is taking this 110 and like throwing it out there. I'll do like 4 or 5 fast, like really fast twitches. He freaking crossed it. We're gonna have to belly whip him. And basically almost fishing it like a soft plastic jerkbait, where I'm trying to move it so fast because I'm in like 3 feet of water, dude. I'm like ultra shallow. So I can't really jerk the bait down too deep. Otherwise it's gonna be digging into the bottom. And one thing that you'll you'll learn, or you probably already know, with schoolies, you almost always want to be on top of them. Maybe you catch some right at the end, like worming or something, but if you're not over them, they're not biting the shit.
It's a sneaky little deal. You don't hear too much discussion. I think it's kind of like the last frontier when it comes to this forward-facing stuff. Everybody's out, way out there, out deep, jiggling a minnow. You know, the cat's out of the box on that deal, dude, and catching suspended fish like that. But for the past few years, and especially during the winter times when the grass sparse is out even, I've been using this forward facing to actually target fish ultra shallow, like as shallow as 2 to 3 foot. And it's not like the jig and minnow deal where you're literally feeding it to them and throwing it right in front. It's more to identify like your line and exactly how they're set up, and then really position your boat. And the beauty, I got 10-foot poles, right? So the beauty of it is, if I'm on a shallow flat and I find a pot of fish like that, like what you saw today, I can set the boat up absolutely perfectly with that forward facing, and then just kind of turn it to the side or stop it so it's not pinging them, and I can cast after cast to them. You might have to make a little adjustment. There's a little bit of a mod. On my active target 2, it's really easy. It has a clicking system, so normally that transducer's at about that angle, and that kind of covers you down to like say 60, 70 foot, and all the way, you know, down to like maybe 5, 8 foot. You can usually see pretty well. If you get ultra shallow though and you're on a flat, you might need to make an adjustment. Basically, you click that transducer up one notch, and then you'll need to go into your settings, go into your basically sonar, active target installation, and then you'll change the bottom angle. Because a lot of times when you change the angle of that transducer, it changes the way the bottom sets up on it. So you need to adjust that so your bottom is nice and straight so you can see as far out as you need to, and it's not like going off the screen. But that's a sneaky little trick. Guys have been doing this for quite a long time, especially up north on those smallmouth lakes. They're just not talking about it nearly as much. Everybody's obsessed with all this offshore deep stuff. You don't see guys on the bank, but that's a little tool that you can use. I'm going to show you my arsenal. It's pretty standard. There's a few little tweaky things. The one you can't beat though, especially if you're covering water, is just a trap. That's just a Thunderhawk. That's that silent one that I really like. You rip it off the grass, you rip it, you burn it. Basically, all of these lures have one thing in common. They're gonna stay high in the water column. You know, I have a stick bait tied on, but that is literally the very last thing that I will throw. I'd rather throw a drop shot before that, to be totally honest. All these baits stay high in the water column. I like to keep a smaller trap too. This is either a 3/8 or a 1/4 ounce little Yozuri. Same deal, just a little rattle trap. You know, got the rattles in it. It's downsized. You have to be careful when you hook bigger fish with it and fight them a little better because the hooks are a little bit smaller. But when you're dealing with this downsized bait, or you want to keep the bait up, like we caught fish as shallow as like 2 foot of water, and there was grass up like a foot off the bottom. So you can only reel like a 1/2 ounce trap so fast. Sometimes you need to downsize to that 1/4, that 3/8 to stay above. You point your rod tip up and I run both of these on a 7.3 medium. It's a Halo XD3. It's kind of a slower, more moderate taper rod. It's not a crankbait rod, but it's got a softer tip. So I can just put that thing up there, reel it, and dude, the rod's just gonna load up when they eat it. I ain't gotta bother setting the hook or nothing. My follow-up to those with like continually moving baits, you guys know how much I love a ChatterBait Mini. Gambler just came out with the new Komodo Junior. I put that on the back. It looks just like a little shad or a little minnow. I like using a green pumpkin and then like that white lightning kind of trailer. 15 pound. I got this on another softer rod. This is the Halo Rave. It's kind of a moderate bend. It's sort of your cheaper entry level rod, but it has a much more moderate taper, kind of like a crankbait rod. Once again, these fish dart at the bait, they grab it, they let it go. Having that little softer tip really allows the rod to load up, and then you don't have to be pulling or missing fish or pulling the bait away from the fish. So my next step down, when I'm kind of slowing down for them, that's when I get up the jerk baits. I don't have a soft plastic jerkbait tied on. I probably should, but that's a part of this arsenal. You know, Berkeley Stunner. I also use a standard like Vision 110. You got to kind of decide what you're trying to do. The stunner sinks a little. We did fish some stuff in like 6 to 8 foot, and I liked it sinking ever so slightly, but just got that on 12-pound test. I like that gold, and really I'm just trying to get them to react, you know, moving fast, moving slow. And then this is kind of the sneaky one. You think it's like the same bait, and if they won't bite a jerkbait, they won't bite this. But this little junior Megabass 110 is a naughty little critter. When they won't bite those standard, you know, 110 millimeter, 120 millimeter jerkbaits, when you downsize to this slightly kind of, I don't know, more slender body, slightly shorter, not only does it give you that downsized presentation, it also runs a little bit shallower. So when we're fishing this ultra shallow stuff with this small bait running around, it's the perfect solution. I do have that on a spinning rod though. I find it's easier to cast. I can make longer casts because I got that cast braid on there, 12-pound to 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. I can really bomb that thing and stay away from these fish, because one of the worst things you can do with shallow water fish is get all up in their business. Like that, between your transducers pinging, your trolling motor making noise, because that's the other thing too. If you have power poles, I'd highly recommend you get them. You know, I get all my stuff from Rich at Hydraulic Gear. The power poles allow me to be sneaky. The less noise I make when I'm creeping up or trying to set up on these guys where I'm not running my trolling motor, I'm just letting the boat float. I got all my sonar off except for my forward facing. That's how you keep them biting. That's how you catch 30 fish where one guy rolled in and caught 5 fish, being slightly sneaky. I learned that in Florida, boy, and trust me, it works. You gotta have this guy, whatever spook you like. I got the new Dead Man Walking. It's the Bass Mafia. Bone is a hard color to beat, especially we got a little bit of stain in the water, but a lot of times too, if you're on a clear body of water, something that's clear, you know, like a clear plastic. Some of the new Bass Mafia ones are kind of sick, dude. They're like kind of a transparent smoke plastic. Basically, I believe that they track that water displacement, and that's the biggest deal. So you don't want them to actually see the bait. You want them to hit the water, get pushed away and scooted around. But that top water, a lot of times, those fish won't rise for like a jerk bait, or they won't rise for the trap, but you throw that spook style bait over them, and actually you can get them to come. You almost get the ones that are more committal to come further, and they actually eat it. It's a funny deal with these schooling fish. A couple ones that we threw, but I don't still have tied on because I tied up like a bunch of different baits. Dual Realis has this new, like, it's like a spy bait chug bait. It is the weirdest thing that you've ever seen, dude. And you just twitch it and it slow sinks and it creates this water displacement. We caught quite a few on there, including like a 3.5 pounder. And then the riser, the Jackal riser, is such a strategic, like sneaky schooly lure for this time of year. It is the weirdest, funkiest, most awkward bait to ever throw. But dude, there's some days when you literally cannot catch them on anything else but that. Also a spy bait. We threw that quite a bit. Didn't work in this situation, but as we get a little later in fall, the water cools down, and on a clearer body of water, there's quite a bit of stain in here. Burning that spy bait over the top of them can be an absolutely killer deal. Targeting these ultra shallow fish, you make a little adjustment to your transducer. You can pan around. You're not so much fishing them off the transducer, but you're using it to line up the cast and really just be as detail oriented possible. And that's the difference between a lot of us guys and the pros, dude. They're finding that perfect line. You know, all those fish are there, everybody sees them, but if you can find that perfect line, that perfect cast, that's how you get bite after bite. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're gonna wrap this thing up, dude. Freaking hit that like and subscribe button for me. I'll put links to all this stuff at Monster Bass and Tackle Warehouse down in the description box if you guys want to check it out. It's a fun time of year. If you don't hunt, it's a fun time of year to fish. There's less people out, dude. The schoolies are starting, and as it cools down, it gets better and better. We will catch you later, boys.